Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to Resilience 2.0 with Stephanie Mitchell Hughes. Stephanie has been through what she refers to as hard places. She's been a TEDx speaker. She has conversed talking about the inequalities and the iniquities of working within the American legal system, both as a woman and as a black person. She has come through all of that. She's had COVID and now still suffers from the after effects of long COVID, but is frankly very strong and very punchy towards making sure that America, Black America, White America, America as a whole, and of course Europe, because we have European viewers too, understands that resilience is frankly the only superpower worth a damn in this world. Now, but today is a day of remembrance.
Yes, it is.
And it's a remembrance of someone who both physically and in every other way was a great guy.
Yes. Although there were times where I didn't think he was so great.
Well, so, that happened because he was your brother.
But you know, I think that is the way that probably many older children would describe their younger siblings. So today we are talking about my younger brother, affectionately known by his own children as Big Fella. Today, my brother is the first year, 1 year anniversary of my brother's.
Let's give him his full name.
My brother's name, Mark Mitchell. And
Mark Mitchell.
Yes, he died. He was talking 1 minute, giving paramedics his name and other salient information because they had been called to the home that he shared with his wife, my sister-in-law, and the childhood home of my nieces and nephews, because my brother and sister-in-law had 2 sets of twins. First, the set are the boys, and the second set are the girls. And my brother had been really sick with major gout flare-ups in the weeks leading up to his death. We certainly, though, did not anticipate that. But that morning when my brother woke up, he told my sister-in-law that he was having difficulty breathing. My sister-in-law called paramedics. They came. My brother was giving them information 1 minute, and the next minute he was gone. And just like that. And I awoke a year ago today to 17 missed phone calls and a number of text messages, frantic text messages. And I called my mother, and one of my nephews happened to answer the phone, and he said something. He said, "Aunt Stephanie, my daddy died this morning." Now my nephews, let's see. So last year, this time they were getting ready to turn 32.
Right.
And when he said to me, "Aunt Stephanie, my daddy died this morning," he just sounded like he was 8 years old all over again. And I just simply could not believe it. I mean, even today, I still cannot believe it. Believe that my brother is gone. So then what that does for me is it's left my sister-in-law without her spouse, my nephews who will be soon 33, and my nieces who will be 30 years old this year,
right,
are now without their father. And my mother has lost a child.
It's incalculable,
right?
The knock-on effect of this. Is this he was a Cincinnati basketball coach, right?
Well, yeah, he was. Yeah, he was
head men's basketball coach at Wilberforce University,
right?
And I've got some really nice words here from Tim Monahan, the head boys basketball coach. Was a
Uh-huh.
great coach. After his tough team beat us in 13 tourney, he gave us a chance to play during the season. By far one of the best additions to our schedule, and all because he gave us a chance. Always well coached and well prepared.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
posted a clip of his daughter Kelsey, who is, let's not forget, a
Mhm.
WNBA player, Kelsey Mitchell,
Mhm.
Princeton High School graduate, former Ohio State standout, uh,
Mhm.
preparing for the season. I mean, she's with the Indiana Fever, right?
Right, and has been since she was drafted. So she was drafted second the year that she came out of OSU.
Right.
And I mean, she was a McDonald's All-American, still holds records on numbers of three shots and all of that. Now, I will say that of everyone in my family, I am the least basketball person. I mean, this time of year, everyone is glued. The people in my family are glued, even my mother, glued to the television watching March Madness. And
Remember, we don't understand that sort of stuff over here. So
yeah, basketball. So March Madness for the folk who are in your neck of the woods and in Europe. In America, we've got these colleges and these universities, and they've got basketball teams. And so they play all throughout the season.
right.
And teams who have these winning records, they can then possibly get their card punched to go to the big, what is known as, and what they call the big dance. And so I think it wasn't last Sunday. I think it was the Sunday before. They do this thing, and it's really like a whole thing. It's an actual television program where they have selection Sunday,
Wow,
and they
that's
pick
crazy.
who's going to begin playing. And so they start playing with, I think it's 64 teams, and they whittle it down. And so they all don't play during the week, but on the weekend, one weekend, they play a large number of games all over the country. And it gets whittled down, I think, from 64 to 16, and then from 16 to 8, 8 to 4, and then eventually by the beginning of April, it's the final two. And so, it's like, I mean, people actually get together. When my son was still at home, and it was just my son and my daughter and I, my son had us, meaning my daughter and I, because people fill out their bracket, and he had us filling out a bracket. When he had us do it, he wanted us to sit down with him. My daughter at that time was in elementary school. She could have cared less. And she then went on to fill her bracket out based upon whether she liked the sound of the team's name. Like if they had a mascot, it was like, okay, I think I'm going to pick this one. And sometimes her teams beat out my brothers. The team might not have even had the best record. And see, that's the thing that a lot of people like, because in March Madness, you can have what are known as Cinderella teams, these teams who come from seemingly out of nowhere, and they beat a team that's highly ranked. So you've got that. But that would be a huge time in my family's life.
Right.
And if we're there, we get together and we're around each other. If I happen to travel to Cincinnati, my brother and everything. But the one thing about my brother that I say about him, and the reason I guess that his loss is felt so acutely, not just by my family, not just by his children and my sister-in-law and my mother, me, my cousins, is because he just built into so many people's lives. He was a builder of men, built young men from the inner city Taft High School into young men who could go out and make their way in the world. And he did not and was not one to seek the spotlight. He just did the work. And so with my brother, he was not going to stand around and listen to anyone whining. The thing that he was famous for, if you came to him, you wanted to gripe about something, you wanted to say that this was not fair or what have you, his
Right.
motto and what he would say is shut up and work.
Right. And quite rightly.
Shut up and work.
Yeah.
Because you show them by work, through your way of playing. And last year was extremely tough for everybody in my family. It was especially tough for my niece Kelsey because she's in the WNBA. That was Caitlin Clark's first year playing with the Indiana Fever. And the person who my niece would call once the games were over and she would sit down and debrief with him was my brother. She would call him, they'd talk about the game. He, of course, watched, went to the games, all of that kind of thing. Now, my sister-in-law also played basketball in college. That's where she and my brother met. So she was at Eastern Kentucky University on a basketball scholarship. My brother was at Eastern Kentucky on a football scholarship. And so, so my sister-in-law is no slouch when it comes to basketball. She knows her stuff too. And my nephews played basketball. One of my nephews now, the baby or who was born first was my nephew Cameron. And he right now is in Mexico playing and still loves basketball. Loves the game. And that's what, because my brother and sister-in-law, their attitude when my nieces and nephews were growing up was we don't go any place that the kids can't come. And so it was to teach, to educate, to mentor, to build.
Right.
And so, we all face loss. And death is hard. There's just no question. It can rip you in ways and change you in ways that you cannot ever anticipate until you are there.
I think the biggest issue is you build a dependence upon someone being in your life.
Right.
Being there, you might not speak to them all the time, but almost as the backstop, the person you can compare notes with, that person being there enables you.
Yeah, but you know what though, Gareth, they are part of your foundation. And when that foundation, it's like that piece of that foundation is pulled away, then the question, it's like, well, who am I, without that foundation?
Right.
And I think about my nieces and nephews, especially because 30 something, 20 something is really young to lose a parent.
It's terribly young.
I mean, it is hard enough to lose a parent at any age. I don't care how old you are, and I don't care how old your parent is. It is hard to lose a parent because they help to create you. And It's like, well, if they themselves are gone, then, well, who am I without that? And for me, it's like my dad died in 2020. So we're going to be coming up on the 5-year anniversary of his death in June. And he died very suddenly. And now my brother is gone. And, it's like, okay, I can navigate the whole punch of my dad being gone. But my brother, so now I'm essentially the only one left. and I'm the person who my mother who has is here taking care of my mother, and I don't do not begrudge taking care of my mother and helping my mother one bit. I would do anything for her. I just, I always, when this happened, I just thought, I just really didn't see this working out that way. I just,
Yeah.
I just absolutely did not. And so I am, oftentimes, especially over the last year, I knew that I could step in and begin handling this huge and a very, very important responsibility of taking care of my mother. I knew that. I didn't think that I was the person to do the job. I thought that my brother was definitely much better equipped than I, because I stress my mother out and my brother doesn't. And my brother and sister-in-law, they know how, and I'm like, you guys can go right ahead and do that. I'm not mad at all because I stress her out. And because I'm hyper and I'm talking really fast and I'm moving 50 miles and I'm like, okay, well, we got to go over here and do this and we're doing that. And I'm thinking about 50 things at the same time and talking about all of them. So I stress her out. She's a good sport about it though. But grief just leaves a void. And there's
Oh,
no explaining it away,
and you
wishing it
can't feel it
away.
really. All you can do, all distance does, is make it a bit like you're viewing it through fuzzy glass.
Mhm.
It's still there. You're still painfully aware that it's there. It's just a bit further away
Right.
from you.
Well, and the thing is that with grief, you sometimes never know when it's just going to show up. But
No, it does
people
show up
don't
like the
know.
bad penny. Yeah.
It does. It just, you're just happen to be, I don't know, writing a grocery list one day and all of a sudden it shows up. But I want to move on from the whole grief part of it
Right.
because there's something else that I want to tell people because I think that it is resources are incredibly important. Now, um
And
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 I've
and, and what you want to talk about really is my gender, and
right,
perhaps more importantly, black men as a subset of my gender. So, and that is their relationship or lack thereof with the doctor.
right. So one of the things that I've talked about or thought about a lot lately because of my new relationship with the African American Male Wellness Agency.
How new is that relationship?
Well, you said how new?
Yes.
Very new.
Oh,
So,
okay.
in the work that I do on a day-to-day basis, we started interfacing with people from the African American Male Wellness Agency because they do in Columbus and they also are in other cities around the country. But they do an annual walk around the country and started here in Columbus
Right.
for African American male health. And what they have at the walk, they have a whole range of health screenings at the walk that they offer a whole just a wealth of information and everything because the focus is on improving Black men's overall health outcomes. And they started doing this because oftentimes men, and I know Black men probably better than any group of other men,
Possibly so.
because I was raised with them and raised with and by them.
Right.
They don't like going to the doctor. And within the Black community, at least in the United States, um, the medical community does not have a very good relationship historically with the Black community. Even
It does vary over here. I think
mhm,
middle class black communities, I've acknowledged them as being a necessary evil,
mhm,
whereas working class tend to see them as interfering with the normal happy run of their life and almost see them as the enemy. They're going to put paid to my fun. They're going to stop me drinking so much, smoking so
Yeah.
much, eating so much.
Well, here it might be a slice of that, but we have, regardless of how old you are, Black people have grown up listening to, reading about the Tuskegee experiment, where
Yeah.
Black men were intentionally injected with syphilis and then not treated for syphilis, not told that they were being injected with syphilis, but they to be studied so that the health or physicians, researchers could study the
When you
impact
say it
of
like that, it's
untreated
obscene.
syphilis
It's
on
obscene.
people. But
It,
this went on, and these men did not know. So you've got that type of experience. And so when you have things like that happening, and Tuskegee is infamous, you also have, and this relates more to Black women, the Henrietta Lacks, that travesty and tragedy, and the misuse of Henrietta Lacks's cells in that form the foundation with much with medical care largely in this country, and her family did not know that her cells were being used. She subsequently died, and her cells were used. They're called HeLa cells, and her family wasn't told, and they were never compensated.
right.
So we now know about this. Someone's written about Henrietta Lacks. There was a movie about her and what have you. But we have these kinds of things happen that are almost legend within the Black community. And then you have these poor maternal health outcomes. Even no matter, regardless of who you are and how much money you have, Black women have the highest rates of maternal mortality, of dying in childbirth, even in 2025.
Yeah, that sounds like you're talking in the 17th and 18th century, and here we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The African American Male Wellness Agency reached out to the agency that I work for because we are focused on mental health and well-being. And they wanted to partner with us, learn from us. And so I have been with and spending a lot of time with their agency and looking at the work that they do. And men have been screened for high blood pressure, not known that they had high blood pressure, screened for diabetes, didn't know that they had it. Some people even had to leave the walk because it's held every August in Columbus. It's held in other months in some other places where this agency has sort of branched out to. But they have left the walk and went directly to the emergency room because they knew their numbers. Whereas Black men will say, well, I already saw my doctor on Monday,
Right.
or I'll go see them tomorrow. Because and it's like, well, I don't know, I don't want to talk about masculinity and whether or not people have a little bit of ego kind of stuck
I'm
between
certain that
some of
plays
this
part of it. I'm certain that plays part of it.
and what have you. But I say this because it's important for Black men to begin taking care of and prioritizing their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, and to find community with other men and encourage. And within those communities, I think I see increasingly, when I look at organizations like the African American Male Wellness Agency, they create community. And as we all know, regardless of who you are, regardless of where you live on this earth, community is really what saves us, helps us, helps us, stops us from just completely falling through the cracks.
Right.
We build community. We help and build each other up. And circling back to my brother, that is what he spent his life doing. And I'm talking about, and the reason that we segued from my brother's legacy and into men's health is because in the weeks, one of the things that my brother had, and I don't know that whether this played a role in his sudden death or not, but my brother for many years struggled with gout. And gout means you got too much uric acid in your system. It can
Forms
be
crystals and usually ends up in the extremities.
right, and having gout was extremely painful, and
Yeah.
it was hard for my brother because he was used to a certain way of eating. He was known as the pit master. We can tell the stories of how he became the pit master on another day. I'll just simply say that this started with him nearly burning down our parents' home when we were substantially younger. But he was really, really struggled to change the way that he ate, what he consumed. And my sister-in-law really put her foot down with a lot of this and tried to do what she could do to clear stuff out that negatively impacted or my brother's health or would trigger a gout flare up. And so in the weeks leading up to his death, my brother had a very bad flare. And in fact, a few days after his death, he was scheduled to see a specialist to look at his diet. And if my memory serves me, the thing that triggered the gout flare that he was having in the days and weeks leading up to his death, it was triggered by an ingredient that happened to be in some Italian dressing that he put on a salad that he ate. And it was something that, he had studied the label. My sister-in-law studied the label and determined, okay, this is something that he can eat. But it turns out that there was an ingredient that triggered a very severe gout flare. But my brother he was the type of person who just kept going no matter what. That was just him. And I just think that and I encourage my brother, I would encourage any man, whether it's my brother, whether it's you, Gareth, a friend, what have you, please take care of yourself. Find your community, find your tribe of other men who will help you and encourage you and hold you accountable. And those are some of the things that when I've listened to men talk about working with the African American Male Wellness Agency, those are some of the things that they have said and highlighting how their own overall health is improved. So that's what I got for today.
Well,
So
no, I thank you for it. And for those of you who have been watching our series, you'll note that we highlight things as and when they turn up, or remembering key figures in Black history, talking about the relationship with Black people, white people, and every people with what is going on in the world, but not from a political angle, more on how to survive it and how to be emotionally stable and secure enough in yourself that it doesn't override you. And that's why this whole series is called Resilience 2.0, because this is Stephanie's second bite of the cherry, and she's helping other people from the learnings that she's gotten during that process. Until
right.
next time you share this time with us, I want to thank you, Stephanie, for what has always been a riveting watch, and to watch out for all of those small little snippets that I'm going to be putting out soon, which hopefully will give you a taste of what some of the other parts of the show have been about. In fact, I think we're going to start reissuing some of the older ones so people can get on board. It's some incredible stuff. Also, we're putting together a YouTube channel where you'll be able to watch them in order, or you create your own playlists. It's a great watch, a good lesson. So please do watch out for that. But until the next time we speak, keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Who knows? You might catch the moon on the way. And look after that mental health. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Yes. Thank you, Gareth. Thanks, everybody, for watching. See you next time.